Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lifestyle with Dr. Moby. And today we are honored with a great guest, one of my favorite persons, Tim Brien, with us. And we were honored as, we had an honor serving WTU. And let's catch up with Tim. Tim, how are you?
Doing fantastic, Dr. Moby. It is so great to see you today. I am very excited to be on your show today. It was a privilege working with you all those many years, and now we get to work together, which is a great thing.
Yeah, and we can work forever on this, because podcasting, you and me, we can continue doing as long as we want, right?
Absolutely. And I do it from the comfort of my home here, much like you, and in my beautiful man cave. And I got to say, Dr. Moby, I'm jealous of your man cave. You have way more books than I have, so I'm kind of jealous.
Well, that's my partial man cave. My real man cave is downstairs with the full NFL gear. So I have to show you that someday. But this is my official man cave. So I think there is official man cave and unofficial man cave. So right.
I'm gonna have to talk to my wife about that. I'm gonna have to up my game and get an official man cave and an unofficial man cave now. I'll let her know right after we're done here.
Yeah, please tell her I have official man cave and from where I do my sports show. And so because I tried doing the virtual background like we do, but I didn't like it how it comes along. The natural ones actually are very nice. As you can see, it has more depth and more. But I keep changing. I put my guitar now, so and then so for the NFL we have all the team logos and so forth. So we'll be doing Super Bowl. We'll be shooting another episode. So do you watch NFL?
I do when I get a chance. As you know, I've got twin 6-year-olds that really occupy a lot of my time.
Mhm.
But I do get my wife gives me about 4 hours on Sunday to do some art and to watch some football. Unfortunately, my team is the Arizona Cardinals. I love them.
Mhm.
And they're just not gonna make it into the Super Bowl this year. Maybe next year, we'll see. But I'm also a Cubs fan, a Chicago Cubs fan, so I like loser teams.
Oh.
I got loser teams, but I'm rooting
Well,
for the Bills.
yeah, I mean, you can definitely, like my team is Steelers and they didn't make it either. So, but I still kind of I play the pool and we actually I just lost last night, but I went quite a far, all this
Mhm.
season and even postseason doing really well. But in the last, I think I picked New Orleans and I lost that. Maybe I keep playing those numbers.
There
That's
was a
fun.
lot of crying in my house last night because my wife is a Saints fan and my stepson is a Saints fan. My wife
uh,
likes the Saints because of Drew Brees because he's cute, and I'm like, okay, you like him because he's cute. But yeah, they were both in tears last night, so I had to console them with some ice cream. So
yeah, my heart, my neighbor is also New Orleans, and and I think I like Drew Brees. He's really a good quarterback, but I like Packers quarterback too, and Rogers. I think I have a feeling he's gonna go probably all the way, and if he goes all the way, he'll probably win Super Bowl. So, but Kansas City probably is gonna be.
we'll keep our
So,
fingers crossed for you.
yeah, I know. So let's catch up on. I want to kind of give audience some info about your work. So Tim has served a great career in Department of Defense, and so Tim, why don't you go ahead and tell a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, I worked at Fort Belvoir. I was a transition coordinator. Basically, that's a fancy word. It's like a waste management engineer. But a transition coordinator, what they do is they help soldiers transitioning into the civilian workforce with helping them write resumes, find jobs, do interviews, and all that kind of stuff. And I did that for about 5 years. No longer with them anymore. I'm with Customs and Border Protection and HR department, helping their agents dealing with resiliency issues, dealing with all the stresses that that they deal with on a day-to-day basis. So I've basically transitioned myself doing a similar job, and of course, they really enjoy having me look over their resumes. Not that they're going anywhere, but everyone likes me to look at their resume because I'm the jobs guy. So that's what I do in my daytime work, and I look at people's resumes in the off time as well.
Hmm. So I think I want to ask you a little bit about, with the resume. I know when we worked, so we have a couple of good things, and I'd like to basically take this advantage of talking to you and kind of giving some tips on resume building for
Mhm.
pretty much anyone, whether they are on transition from DoD or applying to Custom Border Patrol, or any job. So
Mhm.
give us a little bit a scoop on what things somebody should be doing for resume.
Absolutely. Well, I'm still working on your resume, sir. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not working on his
I
resume.
know.
But so I guess the first thing and the most important thing I would say is when you're looking for a job, when you're looking at that job opening, the announcement, actually read it. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't read it, and it sounds simple. I've got a long history of technical support, and when I was working in the cell phone industry, I'd be like, okay, turn off your phone and turn it back on. A lot of times that resolves things. Simple thing. Same thing with resumes. If you
Mm,
don't read the announcement, you're not going to get the job. You really are not going to get the job. So read it and then try to understand what they're looking for, because that job announcement is your first test. If you
mhm,
don't have the skills that they're looking for because you haven't put it in your resume or you haven't actually read the announcement, you have failed the first test. They're not going to hire you if you're going to fail the test, if you're not going to pay attention to what they're looking for. So, first things first, read the job announcement, understand what they're asking and what they're talking about. And that's where it all stems from, is that just that one thing right there.
mhm, mm. So what you're saying is they need to know, what they're looking for, and pay attention to those, duty description or job description, right?
Absolutely. A website that I can give out is onet, ONET,
Mm-hmm,
online.org.
mm-hmm,
And that website is produced by the Department of Labor. And what that does for you is you can put the job title in there and a list tasks that are associated with that job title. Now, that would be one of the things when you're crafting your resume. I would do that, and it also will let you know what the pay is for your state. So if you're in the United States, it'll let you know the high and the low end, and what the median is,
mm,
what education is required for that in simpler terms. Because companies, like with the DoD, we have our own language. With Customs Border Protection, we kind of have our own language. And if
mm-hmm,
you don't understand the language, this is a good way to go ahead and get it into simpler terms. This works for the United States. If you're going over, if you're from outside of the United States and you're looking to get a job in the United States, I would go to that resource. So that way you can understand it in easier terms. And then when you're
mm-hmm,
building your resume, you put, the job titles that you've had in that same website, and it'll give you the tasks and lists. And I did this for literally over 600 veteran soldiers, whatnot, in that 5 year time frame. I would do it the same way with everybody, and we would have an 80% higher rate for those
mm-hmm,
soldiers to get an actual job in the civilian world. And it's a proven track record for it. It works every time. If
mm-hmm,
you're speaking the same language as the hiring manager, then you guys can communicate. and then you have a good chance to get the job. I can't guarantee you the job, but I can give you a leg up to help you out with getting that job.
Okay. So after making sure that the job description matches, or at least you realize what is there, is it better to put objective very similar to that? That objective of your CV or applying is, so you kind of correlate those two first.
Yeah, I would think so. And it really depends. Depends is not sponsoring this show, but you're going to hear me say the word depends with resumes because it really depends on the job that you're applying for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now, for a higher level job, something in the medical field or the education field, CVs are a little bit different from resumes. But in CVs, I would definitely have objectives in there. For your regular run of the mill resume, it can really depend. If that objective is tied to the job posting, I would put the objective in. If the objective is, if you put your objective in that, hey, I want to eventually work my way up to be the president of the United States, hiring manager is not going to care about that. They don't they might even turn you down because of that objective. So if you're going to put an objective in, make sure it's definitely tied to what the job posting is, and also research the company that you're going to be working for or that you want to work for. See what their objectives are, and try to go ahead and mesh the two together, so that way they will look at you and go, this person is going to be with us for the long haul. Because let's face it, turnover, people finding different jobs, cost that company a lot of money. When I left the WTU, I had 5 years of experience. I actually trained the guys that took over for me, but they lost that experience that I had, and I brought 10 years of experience in helping people with resumes and whatnot. That experience is gone for the WTU. While it's SRU right now, that experience is gone, and it's hard to replace that. It's hard to find somebody with my background to have it. Do they have somebody in there? I'm sure they do right now. But it takes a lot of training and a lot of money to bring people in, especially in the federal government. Oh my gosh, it takes forever to get in the federal government. But once you do, then you're in as long as you want to stay in.
So what you're saying is that yeah, that is the turnover is actually, I think a lot of companies, they could be revolving door, and
Mhm.
but yes, they can get anyone and replace anyone. That's true, but I think it brings down the morale of any organization. When you have such a high turnover, right? So.
Absolutely, it brings down the morale for everybody. And for something that can really impact you is putting too much education in. Myself, I have a master's degree in theater education, and basically what that means is I can ask you if you'd like fries with that burger, But some people get intimidated by higher education because they think you're just taking this job because you need a job and you're going to leave as soon as possible. So I wouldn't necessarily put everything into your resume. Take a look at the job. Again, it all goes back to that job posting and researching that job. What's the education level that's required for it? What are the skills and tasks that you have to have experience in to do the job? And then put that information, maybe a little bit more, to show that you're above everybody else. But you don't put all your cards on the table and knock it out. Funny story is the job that I currently have right now. One of the interview questions was, what kind of technology have you used or are you familiar with in using your job? And I was actually starting doing podcasting while I was at the WTU. And I told him, I was like, well, yeah, I'm a podcaster. I've been doing it for a number of years, and I helped another division in DoD set up their podcast. And I saw both interviewers' eyes just blow up, and they said, That's exactly what we want. Now, podcasting is not on my resume, but and there's no way I could know that they were wanting a podcaster, but I included that in the interview. Their eyes blew up. Here I am, a year later, working with Customer Border Protection in HR, and I am their head podcast guy for our HR division.
Very nice, very nice. So, also tell us a little bit, what are the most common mistakes anybody would do with HR? Like when they are being interviewed, it's good to ask those questions about HR, and
Mhm.
then give us some tips for that.
Sure. Well, if you're looking for a job with the federal government, you're going to get asked questions. I call them situation, action, result questions. Or SAR questions. You're going to be telling them a story, and this is going to be stories about you personally, of what you've done. A big mistake that in an interview that you can do is not treating everyone with respect, and that goes from the receptionist that or the security guard at the front door
Mm-hmm.
all the way to the interviewer, because a long time ago when I was working in the cell phone industry, I was working for a company, and I was a supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
and I would need to fill some slots on my team. So we would put out the application, and I would switch spots with the receptionist. When I knew somebody was coming in, I would switch spots with the receptionist, and I would sit there and check the person in, and then move pop on in the back room and have the receptionist come back out. And if they treated me with disrespect, their eyes blew up when they came into the interview and saw me there, pretending to be the receptionist. And so I had a couple of folks that I said, "Hey, listen, we're not going to continue this interview. You treated my receptionist, quote unquote, me rudely. I can't have that when we're dealing with cell phone stuff." So start with 5 minutes before you get there is the interview time, and it is when you should be on for the interview. Treat everyone with respect. The other thing is be early, but not too early. So if your interview is at 11 o'clock, you're there at 10:30. If you're not there a half hour early, you're 20 minutes late. Get there early just in case something happens in traffic or you have to go through security and it takes extra time. But be there early, be there on time, be dressed appropriately, and carry extra copies of your resume with you. I always make it a point to carry 5 extra copies. If I'm getting an interview that's a panel interview, I hand out extra copies to anybody there because usually they only have one copy. So I'm like, oh, here you go. Here's the extra copies. And I have a copy for myself. So that way don't have to memorize everything. I can have it right there in front of me. And I can point it out to the interviewer. I can say, hey, listen, at this job, as you can see on page number 2, I did this, that, and the other thing. So, and just realize that the interviewer is probably almost as nervous as you are. They really are because they don't know what to expect from you. They see a piece of paper and then they get to meet the actual person.
Mm-hmm.
So, just realize that they have a little bit of anxiety. You have some anxiety. Have fun with it. No one's going to beat you up if you do a wrong answer. If you
Mm-hmm.
do a wrong answer, that's okay. Maybe the job is not for you, and that's okay too.
So what you're saying is just kind of be yourself, and
Mhm.
just it'll be, everything will come on its place. Just don't be nervous, don't come too early, because it might seem like you are too anxious or aggressive or whatever, right?
Yeah, you could be too eager, and nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see somebody that's desperate for a job.
Yeah.
Um, the best time to look for a job is when you have a job. So I mean, if you are completely out of work, still walk in there with confidence. Walk in there, a half hour early, appropriately dressed, appropriately prepared,
Mhm.
And just knock it out of the ballpark, as I usually tell my soldiers. Just have fun with it. And if you don't get the job, it may not be a good fit anyways. So don't beat yourself up about it too much. I saw a lot
Mm.
of people that would come out of interviews and they were like, "Man, I blew it, I blew it, I blew it." I've come out of interviews saying, I didn't get that answer right. I didn't get that answer right," just to get a call a day or two later. "Hey, Tim, when can you start work?" I'm like, "Okay, 20 minutes ago I can start work. Let's go." So we are our own worst critics when we're sitting in an interview, and you shouldn't criticize yourself when you're sitting in an interview. Just go with it, knock
Mm.
out the interview. If you say something stupid, you can't really take it back. So don't worry about it. Just press on. Try not to say anything stupid. That's the big thing. Don't cuss. Don't talk politics. Don't talk religion. Just you're there for a purpose. You're there to explain your experience and what you can bring to the company. And if they
Mm.
want it, they want it. If they don't want it, somebody else will.
Yeah, yeah. There's always somebody who appreciates you. So, eh, like you said, don't beat yourself for that, because it's not gonna help. And less and best time is to look for when you are not so desperate. And because I think one of the questions a lot of employers ask, that are you out of job? I mean, if you don't have a job, which could be now with COVID and everything. I
Mhm.
mean, there are a lot of layoffs. I mean, so it could be maybe now that question might be different. With COVID, restaurant industry, a lot of industries are actually laid off complete. There's no fault of anyone's. It's just they don't have business anymore. So
That's true.
then probably it's okay. But what about asking about pay?
Well, asking about pay can be a little bit touchy because you never know that interviewer, that hiring manager, if you're going to be your actual supervisor or if they're somebody from HR that's just doing the interviews for the organization. I would again go to the website that I mentioned, the onetonline.org,
Mhm.
and that way you can see kind of a range of salaries for it. Um, Something that I've learned is that the first person that talks about salary loses. So if you bring up salary, you have lost because you're putting yourself in a bad position. Let them bring up salary, and then you can counter with, if you've done your research, you can counter with, well, in this area, in this industry, let's say the salary range is 50 to $70,000 and they offer you 30,000. Then you can come back and go, well, if you look at my experience, I actually, and you look at the industry, 50 to 70,000 is about the right amount. And this is where you have to have a hard look at yourself. You got to look at your bills and what you're comfortable with. Um, Myself right now, I'm a GS 13 with the federal government. There would be no way, even if I loved the job, even if it was my dream job in the world, even if it was president of the United States, and they offered me $50,000, no, I can't financially. I can't take that hit. So you need to walk in there with that knowledge of what is the industry average being done and what can you live with. So again, using the example, they're paying 50 to 70,000, or the industry is paying 50 to 70,000, and you need about 55 to feel comfortable, not break even, but feel comfortable. Then you counter with 60, and then you work your way down until you're at 55, and then you don't stop, and then you don't go away from that, because if you take a salary that is not going to fulfill your needs financially, you're going to hate that job and you're going to be looking for another job
Mm.
within a month. You'll be because you'll hate everything about the job, because you'll be losing money every month.
Mm.
So let them bring up salary first, and then you counter with the research that you have done, so that way you can make a good decision on that for yourself.
Hmm. And a lot of now employers, and I have also hired a couple of for my office, and nowadays we do what we call performance based pretty much interview, that we say, okay, that's fine, you're telling me, but let's see how you do the job for 3 months, 6 months probation period, and if you have all the skills you have mentioned, by all means, employers will. I don't think they mind giving raise or whatever,
Mhm.
renegotiating the final number, because if they see, I mean, very few employers will do that. That they just undervalue you, cut you pretty big time. But most
Mhm.
are reasonable. I mean, they will kind of, okay. So now what we tell is, okay, look at your skill level, and this is your baseline. We're gonna renegotiate or rethink on performance in 3 months, and then if everything is very well,
Mhm.
yes, then you deserve better. Sure. So I've done that.
Mhm.
Does that also work sometime with other employers, you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the job that I took with Custom Border Protection, they put me on a year probation.
Mm,
And I've worked for the federal government for, gosh, 12 years, since I was knee high to myself. And they still put me on a year probation. That's just the policy that they had, and that's fine. And I did so well. And you know me, Dr. Moby.
yeah, I
If
know.
I do something, you want it at 10, I'm going to crank it to a 12. But did so well that not only did my probationary period, it was just fine. They gave me a performance award right before Christmas, right before the holidays, because I did so well. And one of the projects that I did was a financial awareness virtual fair that had never been done in Customs Border Protection. We have a contractor that does some financial wellness stuff. They
Mm,
don't really do. Um, they do webinars once a month. I did um, 12 webinars in 3 weeks time frame and reached over 1,800 employees, which the contractor had never reached over 1,800 employees, even after 7 months of webinars. And I did it over 3 weeks. They gave me a bonus. They said, hey, you know what you're doing? And by the way, we hired you as a 12. You're a 13 now. So they gave me a promotion on top of it. So
mm.
if, that's a way that companies do it, and good on them for it. I think more companies should do that.
And I have same thing. I tell all my employees. I mean, I have about, like, 15, 20 employees. So I tell them all the time that employer will look at let your work speak. Okay. Yes,
Mhm.
you can tell whatever you want. That's very good. It's good to be confident, and I love that too. But let your work and performance speak more than what you can talk. And if I see that, oh, if employee is coming on time, leaving, and really not wasting time and doing more than what I ever thought of, then yeah, I don't think a lot, not too many. I mean, of course, I was also employed for many, many years, so I know that they then appreciate. They might not appreciate as much as you would hope, but they do some, right, somewhere somebody will appreciate, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. And, while you're still employed, so, many in your audience here are probably already have a job.
Hmm.
This is the thing that I would tell them to do right now, today. Start
Uh,
doing this today. Start what I call a job diary. Write down all the stuff that you're doing this week, and then go in there every week and add the things that you can add there. Some of the aspects of my job have a security clearance, so I can't really do that. But if it doesn't violate your security clearance, or it doesn't violate your doctor patient privilege or anything like that, start writing that down, because at some point you may need to look for another job, and it's hard to start a resume. A resume should take you hours and hours to go ahead and knock out. Myself, I have what I call my everything resume that has all my tasks that I've ever done, all my projects I've ever done listed out. And then I take from that resume when I look at the job posting, and I put that into the resume and craft it. That way, that resume only takes me about 2 hours to do. And if somebody needs my resume that quick, in 2 hours, I can shoot it to them and they're done. So get a job diary, just a little notebook, just detailing what you've done. And then that way you can review that and put that into your resume. And you can go, you know what? I increased the amount of widgets that the company made by 37% over a 6 month time frame. People want to see that. So do that for yourself. Start it today. I'm going to challenge your listeners, your viewers, do that today for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and that is really a good. It was such a pleasure talking to you. I didn't realize we are already done 30 minutes of that, and we could talk for hours on that. That's such an
Mhm.
interesting topic. So, give us your final take on it, and then we'll just wrap it up.
Sure. Well, I think that your career, your job is in your hands. Treat it like a job. Treat your career search like a job. Treat it seriously. Be the person that knows what's happening in your industry. Be the first person. That way, you're never going to be caught off guard. Um, your resume, that is your calling card to get a job. And do research, 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 and you will be a step above everybody else. I can't guarantee you the job, but I can guarantee you're going to have a better chance of getting the job.
Okay. Well, thank you. It was pleasure meeting you, Tim. And please check out his podcast. And he has done a lot of them. Give us your podcast address or info to my audience.
Sure, absolutely. So it's createartpodcast.com. And we talk about all things art. I interview artists and I have a lot of fun doing that. It's one of my three podcasts. But if you're interested in art, anything art, and if this conversation has sparked you to go, hey, this guy knows about resumes, I know just about as much as in art as I knew about resumes. So go check it out for yourself. And Dr. Moby, thank you so much for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's been pleasure seeing you again. Take care, sir. Thank you.
Take care.